Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. So this image was made with just a single light and no smoke machine. The look of the image owes much to lighting technique and careful control of exposure. And in this video I'm going to show you exactly how I did it. Okay, so at the back here I have set up on this table the subject, which is these candles. And then I have my tripod just in front here. Now this tripod has a geared center column, which is very handy for controlling the height of the camera quite accurately. It also has a geared head for much the same reason, to have accuracy over the composition. Okay, so the camera that I'll be using is this full frame digital SLR with just a 24-70 zoom lens on the front of it. And a flash sync trigger on the top. Now this particular flash sync trigger can also control the energy in the studio flashes that I'll be using. The whole thing is tethered into Capture One software, so it's easy to assess the results as we go along. Okay, so I'll just pop the camera on the tripod and we'll have a go at framing up the image. Okay, so we'll roughly focus that, so we can sort of see what we're doing. I'm going to zoom it in a little way as well, somewhere around the 50mm mark, something like that I think, and wind that down a bit so it's pointing more at the subject, like so. And actually I think I'll take the height of the camera down as well, so I'll just wind the center column down a bit, like so. And I'll just reframe that, something like that. So with all that done, next thing to do would be just to take a test exposure just to see what the whole thing looks like. So what I'm going to do is turn the camera on, like so, and the software has recognized the camera. So here I can see all the settings as they are on the camera. So we have an ISO of 100, a shutter speed of 1/50th of a second, with an aperture of 2.8. So if I just grab an image as a test, there we are. And we can see that apart from the focus not being quite in the right place, which we'll address shortly, you're getting a reasonable image with those settings. However, because the subject of this picture that we're going to be taking is actually the flame, the candle flame itself, we're going to need to adjust that, and we're fairly obviously going to need to turn out the house lights completely. But there's a lot we can set up before we get to that point. First of which will be a light to illuminate not necessarily the candles, but definitely the smoke they give off. So I'm going to set up the light on this C-stand together with this grip arm, and all this is just going to go around the back down here. So I'm going to place this down here, pop the grip arm on the top, that, and now we'll have a look at a light. That is this, which is a Profoto B1X studio flash. So this is a battery powered 500 joule unit. So if I just turn this on, you can see on the back here on the display we have an energy level of 10. That basically means that this is on full energy, and every time I take this down a full energy level, so if I take it down to 9 for instance, that has halved the energy which is coming out of this. So instead of it being 500 joules, now it's 250. So 8, like here, would be 125, and so on. And because it's done like that, that will match f-stops precisely. So each one of these is an f-stop, which makes it very easy to change the exposure as we go along. So I'll put that back onto 10. We also have in here a modelling light. So if I turn the modelling light on, that's very useful to being able to ascertain just what's going to happen when this fires. So we'll turn that out for the time being, and I'll pop this on the stand at the back. There we are, like so. Now the idea of this is that this is just out of view of the camera, but is more or less in line with the subject. So I'll just check that in the viewfinder on the camera. Yeah, and that seems to be out of view. Okay, so if I just turn the flash sync trigger on now, I'll just test that to make sure we have communication, which we do. And with that on full energy, I'll just get a test image. Okay, and we can see from that it's way overexposed. So I'm going to start by taking 3 stops off that. So I'll take 3 full stops off the light at the back, like so, and we'll give that another go. There, that's starting to get there, but there's an awful lot of flare in the top of the image up here. Now this is what I'm going to use to get rid of that flare. This is a cardboard flag, which is just on this stand. So I'm just going to place this around the back here somewhere, just to see if we can just stop some of this light spilling over onto the camera lens. Now the easiest way to set this up is actually to make use of that modelling light. So if I just turn the modelling light on, I want to put the card in just the right place so that it casts a shadow on the lens of the camera without actually being in the picture. So if I just raise this up a little, like so, now I just take it down until the shadow covers the lens on the camera, which is about there, I think. Okay. So with that somewhere in place, I'll turn the modelling light out for the time being. And not forgetting that the house lights are still on, so it won't be that accurate just yet. But we'll grab another image and just see what it looks like. There, that's a vast improvement. You can see that most of the flare has disappeared. Okay, so with that done, next thing to do, just to address the focusing issue. So I'll just look through the viewfinder and refocus the image properly. I'll just bring that round until it's in focus. It should be about there, I think. Okay, we'll just try that again. Okay, that's getting there. It's a lot better than it was. I think the depth of field needs to be addressed at this point. So what I'm going to do is change the aperture from 2.8. I'm going to bring that all the way down to f8. That's going to give me a bigger depth of field, hopefully. Now for the time being, I'm just going to leave all the exposure as it was, and we'll just see what difference that makes. Now that's more like the sort of thing that I want. I've got rid of all of the background information. I have a few highlights on the candles, which is looking okay. And I've also picked up the highlight on the stand at the back here. So there's just a bit of fine-tuning to do. So to address the stand at the back, I'm going to use this piece of cloth together with a couple of clips. And I'm basically just going to cover that up. So I'll just put that around the top of the stand here and just clip that on. There. So that should address the stand. Now the other thing to bear in mind here is that this doesn't have any reflector on it, so it's going to have quite a lot of spill out the sides. So I'm just going to add a reflector to this just to kill off that spill and concentrate the beam a little more. And just pop that on the front of the light like so. There we are. Okay, so with those bits now in place, we'll grab another image just to see what it looks like. Right, so with the reflector in place, I've just got a tiny bit of flare at the top here. So I just need to adjust the flag. So I'm just going to bring the flag ever so slightly down, which should help reduce that flare or eliminate it. Like so. I'll just check that in the viewfinder, see if we can see it, which we can't. There. So that's gone completely now. Okay, so with that done, the next stage would be to light the candles. So I'll just give that a go. Okay, so now we have the candles lit. I'll do another test, just with the house lights still on, just to see what sort of exposure we're getting from the flame. Right, so that's working quite well. I think the flames are fairly well exposed there. This one has a bit of a smoke trail in it, which you get sometimes when you've just started them up, but that should dissipate over time. In fact, if we grab another image now, that should have gone. Yes, there we are. So with that bit done, the next test would be to do something with the house lights out. So I'll just do that. Okay, so now with the house lights out, we'll grab another image. Okay, so that seems to have worked well. So that was with the house lights on, and that's with the house lights out. It's a little more defined, I think. But I also noticed that we haven't got the wax trails visible on this candle and this one. So what I'm going to do is just turn the house lights back on again and just rearrange these candles so that the wax trails are a bit more visible. Just need to turn them around ever so slightly, like so. I'll just turn this one as well. There we go. That's better, I think. Just need to rearrange that a little. It's the little details that make all the difference to this sort of photography. So we'll just pop that back there like that. There. With that like that, I'll just try that again with the lights on just to see where we are. Right. So now you can see in this image, this is the wax trail that I was talking about, and that's working quite well. Right, so with that done, time for a proper take. So out with the house lights, and we'll grab an image. Right, that seems to be pretty good. I'll just put a mark on that. Right, so the next thing we need to do is produce all that smoke. And to do that, I'm going to use this piece of card just to blow out all the candles. And hopefully they will make enough smoke on their own to form an image with the light behind them. So just holding the card above. Right. There we go. So let's just have a look at what we've just captured. This was the first one. That looks quite nice. Second one, third one. And now it's just a case of relighting the candles and doing that a couple more times until we get something which we like. So first of all, I'll just grab an image of just the candles. And now I'll have a go at wafting out the candles and grabbing the image of the smoke. There we go. I'll just turn the house lights back on. Okay, so now we have an image of the candles with the flames on them and the candles with lots of smoke around them. And we just need to combine the two. So that is what I'm going to do next in Photoshop. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, and I've loaded up the two variants that I'm going to go forward with. So this is the candles when they're lit, and this is the candles when they're extinguished. And you can see the smoke in here is looking quite nice. Right, so the first thing I'm going to do is just make a stack of these two files. So go to File, come down to Scripts, go to Load Files into Stack, add Open Files, and just click on OK. There we are. Now Photoshop has just made this stack of images over here, so they're all on separate layers. So this is the candles with them lit, and this is the candles with them extinguished. Right, so in order to make them both visible, what I'm going to do is change the blend mode on the top layer here from normal to lighten, like that. So what that will do is it will allow anything which is lighter than the original image to come through, which is all the smoke in the second image. Now the candles themselves are already there in the first image, so they're bright anyway. Okay, so with that bit done, next thing to do, just to address the smoke where it's come in front of the candles here. So I'm just going to click onto the layer which has the smoke information, this one down here, and I'm just going to add a layer mask to that. So here is the layer mask. It's completely empty at the moment. So in order to use this mask, what I'm going to do is paint on it in black. So making sure that the foreground colour is black, I'll find a paintbrush, and we'll just change that to a suitable size, about there somewhere, and I'm going to make it very soft. Okay, so now wherever I paint this, it will stop the other image coming through, like that. And if you make a mistake, if I go too far for instance and go up and take some of the smoke out, all you need to do is just go back to white as the foreground colour and just paint the mask back in. So there we go, we can just reinstate all those bits of smoke, like so. Right, so the final thing to do would just be to crop the image, I think. So what I'm going to look at here is a ratio of 16:9, because I'm going to use this for video, and that will fit the video precisely. I'm just going to bring the side handles in a little. I'm just going to basically chop the bottom off the image here, like so. I might just increase the height here just so that we don't clip the smoke out. There, I think that looks quite reasonable. And there we have it. A very simple but atmospheric image, I think. And all achieved with just one relatively small studio flash. You could use a flash gun or strobe. The energy level is about right for that sort of thing. But the real key to the image is the way it's lit and the way that the exposure has been matched for the flame and for the smoke. Okay, well I hope you enjoyed seeing how I made that image, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other pictures as they appear and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.